duo. Rhett Power is my buddy and partner in crime here. And Rhett, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. All of the accolades that kind of go along with that.
Well, man, it is a pleasure every week to see your smile and to be with you. So it is a delight. Thank you for having me, and it's good to be with you again, Blaine.
Well, we're going to have to get a little bit closer in proximity. You're only about an hour flight away from me right now. So
that's right. That's right.
I need to get you up here on the island.
I need to be out on that island. I really do.
Yep.
You don't know how much it is good for my soul. So.
Well, it's certainly good for mine. So I can only kind of extrapolate from that and just say you're on. So right. We got a good show lined up here. I'm very interested in our first guest's comments, just to kind of see how she puts things together here. Lindsay Guzowski. Lindsay, here you come. There we go. We were talking in the green room before we went live here. Lindsay heads up an organization. She founded an organization called Crucible, The Crucible. And I love just the name of The Crucible. I did some work a long time ago with Warren Bennis, and he wrote a book called The Crucible. And it was basically about how leaders are formed. And they are formed when the pressure and heat kind of combine here. And how you begin to assess, and particularly with startup organizations, when you're looking to invest, the leadership team is absolutely crucial. And were they forged in a crucible is actually, I'm gonna be a little alliterative here, but how do you assess the efficacy, the talent pool, if I'm going to be investing in a startup and going to be whether I'm an angel investor or Series A or wherever I might be in that stream. You've got an assessment that you've put together here, and it's actually been around for a while. And we're looking here at Crucible version 3.0. So a couple of iterations have gone on here. So I'm assuming there's been some fine tuning. So David has just joined us here. So I'm just kind of teeing up our first guest, David. So
yeah, I need you to, because I was trying to get my notes up. So continue on, and I will be responsive with other curiosity and questions to help facilitate the conversation. So thank you, guys.
Yeah. So we're going to just jump right in here with just a kind of a description, Lindsay, of number one, where did you see the need? Because there was a need, obviously, but also the efficacy of Crucible 3.0. Yeah, I've been around this game for a long time, and being able to assess leadership talent is almost a holy grail in some sense.
Well, we're hoping to find it, but thank you guys very much for having me on today. What we saw, and I've been working in private equity executive search, looking for CEOs and CFOs primarily for roughly, a decade, at the point where I was working with a client who was using an assessment that was fine. It gave some insights. I don't think it told what they were looking for. Yeah. And I asked them why they were using it, because it was eliminating a lot of really talented people that would have been highly successful in their organizations. And they said, well, nothing better exists. And I said, great. Well, if something better existed, would you use it? And they said, of course. And I said, okay, well, I'll go build it. And they all laughed. But my background was in quantitative sociology. So I took that and said, great, I'm going to go build it. And then COVID hit, which gave a really excellent opportunity to get a bunch of people, when they were sitting at home, to take my test. And so we pushed this forward and iterated upon it, as you noted. But the goal of the Crucible was to really understand, for these investor-backed environments where you have a limited period of time to achieve a lot of dramatic growth and a lot of value creation, what are the skills that are necessary to make that happen? And do people have them or not?
So, Lindsay, in those type of assessments, what always sparks my curiosity is understanding circumstance and the variance and the trillions of variables that exist, compounded by the acceleration of change. Right. As these two gentlemen may look older than me, all of us share in the beautiful experience of things happen slowly comparatively to last week or a month ago or a year ago. I'm curious, within the context of your assessment, how do you, one, identify the capability of adaptability, but two, adaptability to trillions of variables and a compressed time?
So there are a couple different measures that we use. Adaptability is actually one of them. And we also look at the inverse of that, which isn't just saying, okay, if you're here, what's the, 1 minus that amount? We look at the inability to adapt in times of stress. And so the critical distinction there is, can you move at speed? Can you think on your feet? Can you do the things that are asked of you as you're seeing things proactively? But when something really shocks the environment, what happens to you? And the difference between that is you can sort of plan for things that there are going to be a million paths in front of you, picking one and pivoting quickly. When something hits that you weren't expecting, whether it's, you've got new tariffs that are coming down, or there's a global pandemic, or your biggest customer all of a sudden leaves, or you were expecting an influx of cash from your private equity fund that isn't going to materialize. How do you react to that as well? And so we're looking through a number of questions, a number of variables, different ways of asking the questions to assess whether people can do both those things. Can they proactively adjust to change, and can they reactively adjust to change, and do so in a time frame that's going to be productive for these organizations?
Yeah, Lindsay, this is so fascinating. I'm so curious, where do you see assessment tools in general, leadership assessment tools in general, heading in the next 3 to 5 years? I mean, especially as AI and predictive analytics evolve, like, where do you see this, and how is this going to change your assessment?
Yeah, it's actually a question I get almost from everyone when they're trying to think about how to take this, is that a couple of the problems that we see with leadership assessments writ large is that they're not unique enough to whatever the environment is that is necessary. So if someone takes, and there's some really phenomenal assessments out there, but they're very broad. And so there are a lot of, TikTok videos or Reddit threads about how to get a certain score if you need it to fit into whatever your recruiter's looking for, or whatever the profile is for this type of organization. Ours is harder to game because it's specifically for private equity, but it's for the fund in question. So we can configure our algorithm by using what has been successful for a fund and the metrics, not what people assume is successful, but actually going deep into the numbers and saying, okay, for fund A, we want to prioritize certain elements and certain what we call catalysts. Blaine, I went really hard on the metallurgy theme here. And if for other groups, it's a completely different set. And then we test the teams. So you're not looking just at who am I as an individual. It's who am I as an individual in the context of the other members of the executive team with whom I'm going to be working. And so trying to game that through AI or through, a consistent set of answers is actually fairly challenging. Where I do think that these assessments are going to have to go is to understanding how people can utilize the information around them, how they are going to use the information around them, and making sure that their assessment is able to be taken by humans who are operating in the context of other humans. And so we're hoping to stay ahead of that. But I also have, as my head of data and engineering, someone who is a specialist in machine learning and AI. So he's helping us stay ahead of things too.
Thecrucible.com, The Crucible, making humans more human in the context of venture capital, where there's a lot of dollars on the line. Quantitative analysis and reporting are essential. The Crucible 3.0. Go to thecrucible.com if you want to help to invest in the best and utilize the best to help you invest. It's the Crucible that can do that for you. Lindsay, thank you for your patience. CEO and founder of The Crucible. Check her out. She is amazing. We will have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Awesome.
Thanks, Lindsay.
What will we see next? That's what the question is. Well, I got
Who
my
knows?
notes here. Anna Barnes is in the house, really close to our unbelievable Olympic facilities in Fort Collins, Colorado, author and founder of the Monthly Momentum. Right up my alley when we take incremental time and apply it to energy. Anybody that writes the book on the Monthly Momentum understands revelation, reflection, goal setting, objectives, divine direction, detours, and time, all in one. There's also a workbook available for people to work through this incremental usage of the human experience and the linear nature of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude that follows. We can pre-order this book now for a mid-October release. Welcome, Anna Barnes.
Thank you. What an awesome introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Well, it's
having
my
me
love
on.
language. You have written a book about my love language. I don't know
It
if
is
my
awesome.
first question is going to relate to that. I have a difficult time keeping daily momentum. So I'm curious, in the study of momentum, why you chose to focus in on intentionally to create purposeful activities within the context of a month when it's so difficult just to get people behaviorally to align each and every day. We talk about these daily momentum. How is the relationship, I think, either inversely or adversely proportionate when we extend the time to 30 or 31 days? Sometimes 29 and 28,
So
depending on deep year. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that when you're looking at momentum, you do need to take daily actions in order to align with your goals. And I extended it, I made it the monthly momentum because I created the workbook, which I have with me, but I also created
Well, hold it up. Hold it
to
up.
go
We're in the
with
airports and hotel rooms. People buy
it's
books when they're there and
gorgeous.
pre-order them. What a beautiful cover. Beautiful.
Yeah. And, you know, just because I'm an artist as well, there's all the shebang. And it's really an artful book with the hot air balloon theme that goes through. There's different
Well,
chapters in
it's
it.
perfectly aligned with the show because you have hot air balloons and us three are blowing hot air all the time.
All
So
the
this
time.
is perfect book for us.
Perfect. You guys would love the book then. So the monthly momentum itself is the company. The flagship, obviously, book is the yearly reflection goal setting workbook, which focuses on reflecting on your past year, doing self-assessment to make sure your goals are aligned with what you actually want to achieve, not what you want to achieve based off of others' expectations. Setting the vision for the future, setting your SMART goals, productivity strategies, all of that. And then I introduced my monthly planners in the book, which is where the monthly momentum comes in, because if you look at the bigger picture, it's sometimes overwhelming, which can kind of freeze you in your tracks. But if you take it 1 month at a time and say, what are the pivotal things that I can accomplish this month to make sure I'm going to meet that goal at the end of the year, it becomes more relative, it becomes more achievable. You can actually accomplish the measure your progress. So there's also, I talk about in the workbook, how to review and adjust your goals throughout your process. And you've talked about it many times, about reviewing and reflecting. That's such an important piece. And if you do that more often on a weekly and a monthly basis, then you're going to be able to track if you are going to hit your goals or if you're going to miss it slightly, if you need to adjust, if something, life happens, you need to adjust for circumstances and still be able to stay on track.
I was doing some research the other day on goal setting and a couple of other things for a program that I'm putting together, and the idea of dopamine and motivation cycles, which is something that you address in the book. What was interesting to me in the dopamine data was that there is more dopamine released in expectation of an event than the actual doing of the event or experiencing of the event. And it's that pre-release of dopamine based on expectation. in your book or in the work that you do, how do you actually account for setting in place expectational triggers that are tied into the goal?
Can I also interrupt, Anna, too? Is it expectation or is it pursuit of? Because I learned that it was dopamine release for the pursuit of. It was actually the expectation of the attachment and emotion that created actual cortisol. That it's actually the pursuit of that creates the dopamine. I could be incorrect, but
well, that's a good point, David. Yeah. The data that I was looking at, it was looking at the triggers, what triggered a dopamine release, and the MRI scans were showing it was the expectation in pursuit of. But it's, there's that great meal. I can't wait. And now, I get there and it's kind of like, well, okay, that was okay. But it was the expectation.
That's absolutely true. It's disappointing when we're there, even a gold medal.
Yeah.
So you get the dopamine when you're planning something, when you're visualizing something, you're kind of creating that vision for the expectation, and you're getting the dopamine during that. So with traditional like yearly planners and whatnot, you get all the dopamine into it when you're planning everything, you're laying out your year, you have these grand delusions of grandeur, but then you kind of lose motivation because it's already planned out and you didn't quite have it broken down to be able to pursue it. And that diminishes our dopamine throughout it too, because we're not keeping ourselves accountable, because we're not clear on what steps we have to take. And if you're not clear on what steps you have to take each and every day, each and every month, then if you're not achieving a goal, or that a milestone has passed that you didn't achieve, then that diminishes your sorry, I'm blanking on the word, but it diminishes your self-respect, and it diminishes the actual pursuit, because then you assume that you're being put behind when it's really easy to actually get caught back up. So the way that I have it laid out in the book is that, and in the planners, so the book sets you up for your overall view of everything. So you get really excited about the year, you know exactly what you're going to do, breaks it down into steps. And then the monthly planners go through and allow you to stay accountable, stay on track. And then I have the little dopamine hits in there. So there's coloring pages to make sure that you're coming back to it. You're taking those brain breaks, you're getting into that flow state, and you're staying on track and wanting to revisit your goals on a daily basis. And also having those reflection points at the end of each week and at the end of each month, so you can make sure you're staying on track.
Wow, that's really cool. I got to ask you though, you traveled the world with your son, right?
I did.
I gotta know more about that. And then how did that experience shape your philosophy on intentional living and planning? I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, so me and my son, my brother had passed away, sadly, and that was kind of like, we had already planned on traveling, but that was kind of the push to actually make it happen. So then we went traveling. We were in Bali for 2 months, in Croatia for another 2 months. And that was during his 4th grade year. So he was really only in school for the last 3 months of that year. And he, come to find out, over all these years, he's going into 7th grade this next year. And the 4th grade year, when we were world schooling and doing real life learning in different atmospheres, was the year that he excelled in his education the most. There's something about traveling and awakening different parts of your brain. And when you're experiencing different cultures and you're experiencing different situations that you would never normally be confronted with, I think that it just brings you to life in a way that makes you feel capable of accomplishing everything else. So it ties into the planning and everything, because obviously that took a long time to plan, and it was, I tried to be meticulous. Life has other plans. You have to learn to adapt and adjust. And it just really, that's kind of where this idea for the workbook came from, and where the idea for the monthly planners came from, because I balance a lot in life. So to be able to go through and keep it all under wraps and keep making progress in each field of life, it's really important to me. And I think traveling the world had a lot to do with that.
We are all blessed because you got about 600 days of travel between Blaine Bartlett, Rep Power, and myself. So obviously helping in the context of planning, a lot of dopamine flying around in our lives, keeping us young, excited, and enthusiastic.
Rather than dopamine.
A lot of entheos, which is with God, with inspiration. Anna Barnes is inspiring us with a beautiful book, a beautiful journal, a beautiful memorialization of our monthly momentum, a great way to be more efficient, effective, and statistically successful. Be productive, accessible, and gracious with the monthly momentum book coming out in mid-October. Check out themonthlymomentum.com to pre-order this beautiful guide to our future in our divine potential. Thank you, Anna Barnes. We will have you back before it launches.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. We're rocking and rolling. Glad I could make it with my notes and everything. This is amazing.
You're prepared.
Mr. Griggs is out of the car. He had an extraordinary angle when he was driving. I could see him in the green room. So now hopefully he's standing on the side of the street, not the middle of the street, but we'll find out soon. CEO at Steve Griggs Design. Welcome to episode 749 or so of Office Hours. Thanks for joining us.
You're on mute, Steve.
You got to unmute yourself no matter what.
Sorry. Hey, I'm an old guy. What can I tell you? Hey, David.
Yeah,
I'm
I got
loving
four
the elevator pitch show, by the way.
I don't know what we're doing so well with these extraordinary women. Now we're stuck with 4 middle-aged mutant turtles again here on Office Hours. Steve, a lot of lessons are taught to us by our parents and our grandparents and our relatives. But the ones that seem to be most sticky are the ones that are caught. And a lot of times we catch lessons from our parents by watching them succeed and fail, watching them react to fear, watching them make different decisions and the outcomes of those decisions. And we can actually learn by catching these lessons, whether the activities of our parents are positive or negative in their behaviors and their natures and their outcomes. You have been extremely impacted by your father, especially. I was wondering what one of the top lessons that you actually caught from your father that wasn't taught by your father.
Yeah. So my dad is a construction worker in New York City. And he always taught, integrity means a lot, right? So your word is your bond, right? And he always mentioned that the word is your bond. So I've carried that through working with him in the winters through college, that when you're in New York City, there's no time for excuses. Nobody wants to hear your story. So I try to carry that in my own business. And I like to use the term relations marketing, where your word is your bond, and that you need to do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And that has done me very well for the last 40 years in business.
Yeah, that whole notion, and Dave, I appreciate you bringing that up, and Steve, I really like how you've kind of built that into your whole business ethos. Yeah, I remember my dad, the very short piece on this, the first oil embargo back in the 1970s. My dad was he was a serial entrepreneur, and he actually was a jobber at one point in time where he started a trucking line, and he would buy wholesale and sell to the retailers on the other side, and he would carry he would carry not only the freight, but he'd carry the cost until the retailers paid him. Well, things went to hell in a handbasket. He ended up holding about $300,000 in debt that he couldn't recover from the retailers. And rather than declaring bankruptcy, he said, "My word is my bond. We'll dig out of this hole." And he and my mother, and I remember sitting around the dinner table with him, he and my mom, and just talking through this. And he said, "We're going to tighten the purse strings. We're going to tighten the belt. It's going to be tight for a while here for the kids, but we're going to make good on our word. We promised these guys we're not going to let them hold it." and they dug themselves out. Never, they never did declare, bankruptcy. Easy way out. Bankruptcy is easy way out.
I
So
disagree.
the idea here, and then we're moving this into landscaping, into construction. I've dealt with construction. I mean, we remodeled the house. I'm getting somebody to show up on time. Just as a basic, follow through component. But show up on time. I'm rescheduling my entire calendar around this. What have been the challenges? Because you don't do this by yourself. You've got a crew. So I'm real interested here. Is how have you developed the culture that allows you to actually, run a business? Because you're not on every job site every day, but you've got a culture that allows for the integrity, for the on-time ethos. I mean, all of those things to actually be in place. How have you done that with construction?
Well, you have to lead by example, right? So you have to lead by example. So they follow the lead. So if I'm on time and I'm showing up and I'm saying what I'm going to do, your word is your bond. And that just carried over, right? So it's like back in 2008 when they repossessed my 2 cars and took my baby seats out of the car. My wife had I said, I got this, right? So she had faith in me. You just have to really stand out, and your word is your bond. Like you can't wishy-washy. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. There is no excuses. You can't, I may do it, I should do it. When I say to the client, you're going to be swimming by July 4th, they need to be swimming by July 4th. Like there's no time, especially in New York. It's a very tough market, right? Clients are super demanding, especially the type of clients that we deal with, super high net worth individuals. They don't have time. They're busy running their own lives and their own businesses or whatever, but they don't want to have time for that. And they will pay a premium for that. They pay premium for that integrity, but they don't want to be ripped off. They want to be treated like everybody else. And that's really the secret to it. If you're starting out in business, it's not secret magic. You just do what you say you're gonna do when you say you're gonna do it.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
That's really it.
Pretty straightforward. Hey, I'm curious, Steve.
It sounds simple, but it's not.
I'm so curious about the role of storytelling, and how that plays a role in your business, and how do you use storytelling when you're talking to clients? Is it in selling clients on a big idea?
On a big idea. So a lot of times it comes down to price, and they want to always sometimes go with the cheaper person. I say, listen, you can do this. I don't want to be the guy that tells you I told you so. Like, I've been doing this for so long. I know the flags to watch out for. I know, what mistakes they're going to make. And they try to sometimes cut corners and use less quality material, but it always comes back to bite you. And I tell stories. I have 40 years of stories of people that didn't follow the path. It's very simple. Like, I've done it in my own house. Try to take a cheaper way out, and it ends up costing you twice. Do it. I always try to teach them, do it right the first time, right? Do it right the first time. Pay a little premium now, and I will do it right. It'll be expensive, but you'll never have to deal with this issue.
It reminds me the simple things to do are simple not to do, whether it's the first one to leave, last one to leave, first one there, last one to leave, whether being a bond and your word is your bond, or any of the other simple philosophies that become cliche only because they work. Remember, nothing becomes cliche unless it worked for a long time. Steve Griggs has been doing it for over 40 years, caught and taught from his father how to do the right thing when nobody's looking, especially important in the business of construction and contracting. Go with someone with the situational knowledge experience, has paid the dummy tax by design, living by his values passed on energetically and genetically from his father, SteveGriggsDesign.com. Steve, thank you for everything you do and being a man of your word. We appreciate you joining us on Office Hours.
Keep up the great work with the elevator pitch, Dave.
You got it. Thank you, my friend. Oh my goodness, we are blessed to have so many different shows. I been involved with elevator pitch with Entrepreneur for almost a decade now, as I get older and older with my friends here. Gentlemen, my favorite part of all the shows that I do, especially Office Hours, is takeaway of the day. And in episode 749 or so, we've had many and multiple takeaways to help inspire and empower other people, to empower and inspire other people. Mr. Rhett Power, what is your powerful takeaway of the day?
I have to say, excellence isn't accidental.
I love it. Excellence is not accidental. Mr. Blaine Bartlett, the double B. What's your
mic drop here?
What's your mic drop of the day?
Success is not rocket science.
There we go. The simple things to do are not simple at all. We double down on the simple things, and we can do the simple things in a consistent, persistent manner. These two guys are brilliant today with very short takeaways. They either have to take off or they're just beyond the wisdom they usually have. Mine is the variance. When we look at the surveys, I know, Blaine, your perspective in bankruptcy, you know, as it personally hit me because I did claim bankruptcy. And one of the things I was afraid of is not being a man of my word when there's different variances in why and how and what type of bankruptcies there are. You can still keep your word even if you claim bankruptcy. Bankruptcy can be a certain protection, but also it can be an emotional reflection point where some people like me would walk away from things in order to make sure people were reconciled and compensated beyond, but to be able to emotionally move on and not stick within litigation and exposure of attacks as well. So my takeaway is it's not always what seems to be on paper. You know, I think a lot of us, these surveys, you know, they give us data points. They are a point of reflection, but they're not the whole story. And I love Steve Briggs because, you know, I love the fact that he uses the whole story to be a man of his word in a very, you know, complex business with a lot of variance and risk when you're in contracting. You know, when you tell someone, I'm going to build your pool by July 4th, that's a very, very hard thing to do. Even if you have all the best intentions, there's so many variables. So mine is to understand it's all not as simple as it looks, although the simple things to do are simple to do. I'm blessed to be part of Office Hours for so many years. 749 or so episodes is incredible. Blaine Bartlett, one of the OGs in the solar business. If you want my mentor's help, then I would seek the help of Blaine Bartlett. He's been doing it for longer than I've been alive. He can move your possibilities into reality. I guarantee it. Go to @Blaine Bartlett. Another great mentor, teacher, and coach, an associate partner of mine, especially in the Napoleon Hill Institute, as we are experiencing things happen very slowly. Then all of a sudden, the powerful Rhett Power, check him out. He will help you build your brand, build your business, build your community at www.rhettpower.com. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking your time to pour into our community. And I look forward to the next time I get to see you in person. God bless both of you. Travel safe.
You bet.
You learn more and have more dopamine when you travel. All right. Anyways, this has been an incredible experience. I want to thank everyone as my two other heroes are here. One with the cool hair. His name is Einstein. Can't solve a problem in the same consciousness in which it was created. The other one, Napoleon Hill, is chairman of the Napoleon Hill Institute. Remember, if you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. I appreciate everyone. We will be in San Diego. Come and meet up, holding court in San Diego, then San Antonio on the Aspire Tour. Interviews, speeches, meetups, holding courts, VIP dinners. Then in Las Vegas with the NBA Summer League in SiriusXM Studios in the Wynn. We have cocktail parties, dinners. Marshall Falk and I are having a after party, interviews, holding court meetings, all of it there in Las Vegas. Then back to Los Angeles. Hopefully my boys will be joining us in the SiriusXM Content Mastermind interviews, mastermind meetings, holding court, and VIP dinner, all with SiriusXM. Build your brand, build your community, build your life. Be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. David@dmeltzer.com. That's not up there. That's where you can reach me. David@dmeltzer.com. God bless you, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.